Today's session will be looking at one of the key processes in human resource management, which we call shortlisting. So, shortlisting is whereby you need to identify people who are going to be invited for interviews. So, for example, you have received a number of application letters, then you need to be able to shortlist them or to choose who should be chosen to undergo interviews. And what is important is to understand that it's a process. This is a process whereby you are comparing the application information based on the CV and also the application letter with the information that you are looking for in the job advert. So your basis should be the job advert when you are trying to screen the number of applications that you have. And also at the same time, whenever you are doing this, make sure that the line or a representative of the department where the recruitment will be happening should be involved. And also sometimes you might need to have the head of department who should be involved in the shortlisting. But what is important to appreciate is that the shortlisting shouldn't be done by one person. It's always important that you should have a team, maybe 3 or 4 people who should be involved in the shortlisting. And also there is need for objectivity, even sometimes declaration of conflict of interest. For example, an employee might have some interest to say maybe one of his relations or a friend applied for the job. So you might find that that kind of an employee shouldn't be involved in the process. Yeah, so what is important is also to ensure that the shortlisting is always owned by the HR department by organizing, and maybe they should have a secretary from the HR who is going to guide the shortlisters in terms of how the process has to be carried out. So what we need to appreciate also is that some of the things that you need to consider whenever you are shortlisting, or the parameters that you need to consider when you are shortlisting, could be experience, could be the achievements, the skills, the qualifications, the membership to a professional body, for example, and also maybe professional certificates. For example, if you are looking for an accountant, you might need to have someone who is a chartered accountant, for example. For nurses, for example, you might need to have a professional certificate or a midwifery certificate, and also maybe a driving license for drivers, for example. So even a defensive driving license for drivers, for example. So this kind of shortlisting could be done in qualitatively or even quantitatively by putting up, for example, in terms of quantitative shortlisting is whereby you put a score to each and every parameter. To say, for example, experience will carry 5 marks, so you'll be scoring out of 5 when you are going through the qualifications of each and every candidate. For example, someone who is not meeting the qualification, you can be able to put a 0, you can be able to put a 1, you can be able to put a 2, something like that. And also the qualitatively, you just it's a matter of just ticking who has the required qualification. So you just have to tick against that qualification to say, for example, candidate X, does he have a bachelor's degree? Yes. So if he doesn't have, you just say no. But that is the qualitative one. But the quantitative one, you put a score. If he doesn't have, you put a 0, for example, and you'll be able to add the score. So those people who are going to have a higher score will get the job. But for quantitative, you might just tick, and those who have excess on some of the requirements might be left out, and those who have got ticks against all the parameters will be shortlisted for the job. So what is important is always to ensure that you have got a shortlisting criteria, and also the secretary from the HR should be able to guide the process. So in most of cases, you find most organizations wouldn't use the shortlisting criteria, or just use their own thoughts and to shortlist people. And sometimes it's also cumbersome to go through all the candidates. Sometimes some employers will just pick a few from the pool and shortlist that, but that's not being sincere, and also it's not a good practice, or that's being unethical. What is important is to go through all the applications and be able to reach out to each and every application leader. And also sometimes others should do shortlist electronically. For example, you just ask the employees to fill certain forms online, and those people who are meeting the requirements they should be able to provide the proof. And once the proof is provided, you find that such kind of people who are able to go through, they have gotten the job. I mean, they've gotten, they migrate to the situation where they need to go for the interviews. So shortlisting, I think what we need to appreciate is that is a very important process, and um, that has to be carried with the seriousness that it deserves. And I think what you need to understand, because of the absence of the laws, you might find that people who are not people cannot do a professional shortlisting because there's no law which guides on how shortlisting should be done. So as I said earlier on, you might need to have, you can have maybe where you are putting up scores, and also you might have a situation whereby you are putting up the yes and no according to the criteria which you have used. So what is important, and I think some of the parameters which you need to avoid whenever we are shortlisting, is issues of age, to discriminate some people because of their age, and also sometimes because of where they're coming from and all that. Unless maybe if you have a language to say, for example, an employer you are looking at to say, you are looking for someone who has good knowledge in a certain language. So for those ones, you can consider them to say maybe who knows. So you're not talking about to say, for example, you're looking for a Tumbuka, but you're looking for someone who knows Tumbuka. So it could be a Yao, but he knows Tumbuka. So you're not looking for a Tumbuka, but you know someone who, because the job will involve someone speaking a lot, or maybe will be working much with people who speak Tumbuka. Yeah, so that's what it has to be done. So it's always important to ensure that you have used the criteria that you, or even the job advert. Yeah, so this is how you need to do when you talk about a shortlisting. Yeah, thank you so much.